Everybody can hear you.
Great. Good morning, everybody. We are about 5 minutes away from starting, so welcome. If you have to get some coffee or anything like that, please feel free. And we will start in about 5 minutes. So I'm going to mute you all again and unmute you unless anybody has a question or anything. No questions? Okay.
Hi, Brian. Look how big I am on your screen.
That's a huge head.
You just hit that too if you want.
What is it?
That's mute button. It's not muted.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, this is Anthony Evans, Division Forestry. I've got a few things I need to take care of this morning. I'll be kind of in and out through the meeting.
Okay.
Okay, Commissioner, I've got 9:30.
All right. Do I have an agenda for the,
In your book right there.
It's in your booklet right there.
the booklet? Which page is that? I have the State Conservation Committee. Oh, there it is.
And there's
Got
one
it.
right there as well.
That's the
Back to the same agenda.
same agenda. That's the,
That's today's meeting agenda.
yeah, but we're starting the awards, are we not?
No,
No, we
no.
don't have.
We don't have the awards on, in October.
Oh, okay.
He's got one. He's got it here.
Just,
I got you.
January, April, and,
I got you. Okay, that's right. That's right. What was I thinking?
well, there's a lot of balls to keep in the air.
Yeah. Oh, very good. So, all right, we're going to call the meeting to order. Welcome, everybody. Do we have a quorum?
I think we do. I just need to take roll on there. I have 10 other people in there that I need to see who it is.
Okay, and Brian, you're going to do verification of meeting notices?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, all members, do I have all of our members on here?
Why don't you just call out their names, Belinda, and see if they're here?
Paul Lewis? You on here, Paul? Jennifer Williams?
Yes, present.
Teresa's on here, Wayne's on here, Tony Evans, Angie Rosser. Eli,
Yo.
Brittany Hervey Ferris,
I'm here.
Tim Van Renen,
Present.
John Borden,
Here.
Doug Cyphers.
Here.
Okay. Joe Gum, are you on here? So who else do we have on here? Can you just state your names on there? Okay, John Borden, Cassie, Hodge, Cyphers, come on down. Skaggs, Hudson, Teresa Coon, Russell Young, Angie, Jean.
We have eight state committee members on.
Did you go down to the bottom, Jay?
Yeah, that,
We've got,
Okay, I'm good.
we have
We have a quorum on here.
Wayne is on as well.
Yes. He's on here.
In terms of the designations, verification, this meeting has been properly noticed in the State Register, Commissioner. And the designations that we received, we did receive one from DEP for Teresa Kuhn, and she is present. Tom Cover did provide one for Anthony Evans, Tony, and he's present. Daryl with Ag School provided one for Paul Lewis, but as of yet, Paul's not on the line. And then Jorge for Extension provided one for Jennifer Williams, and she is on the line. So your meeting has been properly noticed, and the determination of a quorum is there.
All right, very good. All right, so we can go on to, has everybody had a chance to review the minutes?
Yes, this is Teresa Kuhn. I move that we approve the minutes from the last meeting.
This is Timothy Van Reen. I second that motion.
All right, any further discussion on the minutes, changes, corrections, additions? All in favor of approving the minutes as presented, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? All right, the minutes are now approved. Let's see, informational updates. Timothy, you're up.
Okay, we did meet, and I will just defer to the section 3 there to discuss more in depth what we did there.
All right, you're making it easy on us.
Those are the minutes of their meeting, sir.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Conservation District actions. Brian, you're up.
The only action of note is just to bring to the committee's attention the September 9th passing of Guyan Conservation District Supervisor Ronnie Purdue, Boone County. His term would have ended in 2022. The district has yet to take action on naming a replacement. So I would anticipate receiving a recommendation from the Guyan Conservation District at the January meeting.
All right, we can skip right on down to standing committee reports. Eli.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The agency is considering the addition of an additional engineering position to aid with certain engineering reviews and in-house activities. Mr. Farkas, our executive director, will be glad to explain that in greater detail.
Thank you. With the committee's permission, we have one engineer on staff, and quite honestly, that person, because of the number of issues that are cropping up on the dams and the need for some agricultural engineering, he just isn't able to get to all the work that needs to be done. He even was asked by Norm to come and look at some upgrades up here in Guthrie, and he just wasn't able to accomplish it because of all the other things that we're doing. So we would like to hire a second engineer with civil engineering skills, particularly a PE, if we can find one, or the ability to have that somebody in training so they could obtain their PE later on. We think in the long run it's going to help, particularly if that person has some kind of agricultural background. And I'll give you an example. We have a practice that we would like to implement out in the Potomac Valley. And normally we would ask NRCS to sign off on this engineering practice, but for a variety of reasons, NRCS is not able to sign off on that practice. But if we had our own engineer, we could sign off on the practice and then go ahead and then implement it. And it has to do with heavy use, feeding areas and that. So we just find that this is going to help the agency in the long run. It will enable us to put engineered VMPs on the ground much faster, because currently if we're not using NRCS, we have to go to an outside engineering firm, and that tends to be very timely and costly. So this is just one of those things we feel that we can do better in-house.
Is this what's in our package, basically the job description then?
Those would be the duties, correct.
Okay. Does anybody else have any comments or questions on this? Thoughts?
And Jennifer Skaggs is on the line. She's the head of the Conservation Services. If she cares to weigh in, because this memo that you were looking at was signed by her and Gene Salburn. Jennifer, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, nothing to add. I think you covered it.
Okay.
All right. Well, then I am looking for a motion.
This is, excuse me, this is Timothy. I move we go ahead and entertain the prospect of hiring a new engineer.
Okay. Do I have a second to go ahead?
Second, Eli.
Eli, all righty. Okay, we've got a motion to go ahead and start working towards hiring a second engineer, if I heard it correctly, and a second. So any further discussion? Questions, concerns? We have the budget for it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll put the question. All in favor of hiring a second engineer? Please say aye.
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 All right. I heard a lot of ayes. Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. We'll get started on that right away then.
And I apologize for the lack of communication on that, Commissioner. The Personnel Committee had planned to meet and discuss this, but it wasn't able to have a full committee meeting, so.
All right, so do we have anything from the Finance Committee?
No, Commissioner, we do not.
Guys, you guys are being an easy crowd today. Programs Committee.
Okay,
Timothy.
thank you, Commissioner, and I think this might be where the easy crowd ends. As I told y'all just a minute ago, that we did have a meeting. Now I'll get a little bit more into depth of everything we did discuss at that meeting, and for us it was a little more lengthy meeting than usual, but do have a lot of good things there to bring you up to date on, and hopefully get some motions on to move forward there in the future. The first item we have, and if y'all turn to section 3 in your books, and it's after the engineer discussion, we have modifications to the approved invasive species pilot program. And if y'all will remember back, probably about a year ago now, Dennis Burns came to us and pitched the idea of an invasive species pilot program, which was approved by state committee. He was given the reins to take it out and to work it, and it just did not quite get the foothold that we had hoped for. You know, in talking with Dennis, he said it wasn't what he would consider, you know, a failure or problem. It just didn't really work the way that he wanted it to. Didn't have quite the interest that they were hoping for throughout the districts. So over the course of the summer here, as he kind of saw what was happening, he did some revisions to that to hopefully gain some more interest and make it a little bit easier for reporting. Just the whole program was kind of overhauled. So that is the main discussion of what we had there the other day, to make some changes and to send that back out. Brian, I didn't hear Dennis was on the call. Do you or Jennifer have any more information to kind of explain some of the big differences that we're changing in this program?
I'll defer to Jennifer on that.
Okay.
I think you hit the high point. It was a pilot program in 5 districts, different areas around the state, but they really just didn't have much interest. So that committee of folks, that was extension staff as well as conservation agency staff, met and basically did a redo of sorts. I think changed some of the requirements to hopefully make it a little more interesting to the potential cooperators and maybe not as intimidating. It was, you know, it's a multi-year program. There were a lot of commitments on behalf of the cooperators. The fact that originally it was going to be 1 farm chosen per district, all those things were reasons that we were given that kind of maybe scared folks away. So they've put some revisions to it and are hoping to try it again and get more participation.
All right, I got a question. And particularly in Mineral, Berkeley, Jefferson, and Hampshire County, we're dealing with a new invasive species insect called the spotted lanternfly. Tree of heaven, which certainly I would think would fall underneath this program. It'd be very important for those counties. Do you feel the program has enough flexibility that the district out there could use this program to attack the tree of heaven? I've asked USDA for some help with that. We haven't gotten a whole lot yet from there. We're working very hard, but that spotted lanternfly is becoming a pesky nuisance, particularly in Pennsylvania. We're out squashing bugs like crazy right now, trying to keep it under control here in West Virginia. It's harmful to our grapes and our and our fruit trees. We need to make sure. So do you feel this program, the way you have it designed now, will it could be used for that?
Yes, so Tree of Heaven is one of the species on the list. And as far as the districts, Potomac Valley is designated as one of the pilot districts.
Okay.
Just to recap, the 5 districts that this will be piloted in is Southern, Western, Potomac, Elk, and Mon.
Okay, very good. All righty.
And again, instead of 1 farm per district, it'll be 2 farms per district, expanding it, and then each farm would be eligible for up to $5,000 per year.
A lot of dead tree heaven. Just for the rest of the group, the tree of heaven is a host for the spotted lanternfly. It doesn't seem to, spotted lanternfly doesn't destroy the tree of heaven necessarily, but it is a host, and it's where they breed, and it attracts it to them. So we're still doing a lot of research. I've been working with APHIS at USDA to try to get more research on this, what's going on, but the more we can control the tree of heaven, the better off we are. So anyway.
There was a story in the paper the other day, I think elementary student in Kansas or Missouri brought in a bug collection that had a spotted lanternfly in it.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a common, folks. So, at any rate, so I guess we need a motion to accept the new program. Do I hear a motion?
This is Timothy, so moved.
This
Do I hear a
Wayne.
second?
This is Jennifer, seconded.
Okay, I got 2 seconds. That's great. Awesome. So far, we know we got 3 votes. So I'll put the question. All in favor, say aye.
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 With enthusiasm.
Aye.
All right. All right. Anybody opposed? Thank you for the work on that one. Let's hope we get more interest.
So, for sure. Okay, and then next on our program's call was a discussion of the Agricultural Enhancement Program, Exigency Program. And I'm going to defer to Jennifer to give us a little bit more information on all of that, just so I don't confuse you all further with my understanding of the program. So, Jennifer, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Several years ago, we implemented the Ag Enhancement Exigency Program. Through the regular Ag Enhancement Program, it does allow for implementation of practices in emergency type situations. So I can't remember the dates exactly, but several years ago, if y'all will remember, we had a really, really wet winter and into spring, and there was just lots of mud in cattle feeding areas, and that was brought to our attention. So we were able to do a reseeding program to be able to reclaim some of those winter feeding areas. Fast forward a little bit, we also did a water tank program as a result of a drought, I think in 2019. And so what we've decided to do now is try to be a little more proactive. So up to this point, there's been an emergency type situation, and we've had to react to that. So we've either had to come to state committee at a regular meeting or potentially call special meetings in the past to get the authority to move forward and offer some of these practices that will help remedy some of these type of emergency situations. What we're proposing now is putting a structure in place just very similar to regular ag enhancement, in that in the future, we would be coming to state committee with a list of potential practices that could be implemented as a result of exigency type situations. So in April of every year, I'd come to you all as a group and present the upcoming year's program, which includes a list of practices. So this would be the same exercise, except for the practice list would be exigency type practices. We hope to, what we're working through now, where we're working through the State Ag Enhancement Committee, is to develop a list of practices and also consider kind of what the trigger for those practices are. So as an example, in the past with our drought program with the water tanks, a county or a portion of a county has to be designated as a D1 on the U.S. drought monitor. So it's not that just one individual somewhere decides it's dry. You know, there has to be an established and accepted trigger out there that will allow us to move forward. So what we're doing now is taking a look at potential exigency type situations, practices that could address those, and also kind of the trigger for those. So it could be everything from a presidential declaration to maybe local FSA county committee and things in between. So I just wanted to pitch the concept of that today. And again, we're working through the State Ag Enhancement Committee. So hopefully in April, I will be back with you all to present a list of practices and a more developed program at that point.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments or thoughts, questions?
I had one comment there. We had talked about, or Jennifer just mentioned the discussion that based on, USDA's drought monitor, different things like that would trigger the programs. The question had come up that someone had asked me here recently, why the districts wouldn't have more say in that. Is that something, Jennifer, that maybe the committee could kind of look at to see if, what input the districts could actually have in the decision making if it was an issue just in their district?
Sure, absolutely. And I think, what we've done up to this point is develop a form for staff to complete in working with the districts. And we just ask them to basically give some ideas of designation. So yeah, if that's something that the districts would be interested in having that authority, so to speak, that just needs to be documented, and then we can work through that state group and see if they would be okay handling it that way.
Okay, thank you.
But Timothy, remember when we started this, we needed to have a criteria for what was the kicker. And D1 was determined the kicker because D0 is just dry. And D1 is a higher level of dryness where you start talking about the weather conditions starting to affect agriculture. And that was the reason why we went with D1. Now, okay. The FSA rule is even higher than that. You have to be pretty extreme drought conditions before the FSA, I believe, kicks in. So this was a lot lenient. This was more lenient than FSA, but still had to have a criteria. So there's only so much money out there. And just because, geez, it hasn't rained in about 3 weeks, we got to rush out there and do things, when in reality, that may not really be the case because agriculture is not being affected as much.
Right.
So that's the condition.
Okay.
The other issue on this as a companion piece is that it would be our goal that go back to the districts, have them adopt this, and then put into district accounts, which already exists, a level of funding of up to $10,000. So they do have a bank, so to speak, that they can start implementing when this criteria, when any of these exigency criteria is hit, so they can respond immediately rather than wait for LORs and what have you, because then by that time we could be, month, 2, 3 months down the road, and it's no longer an exigency because the rain has occurred or the weather, the season has changed, or whatever. So, and the way that would work is that the cap that we would put into a district would be $10,000, and we have already put some money into districts. And so, for example, if they had $1,000 in their exigency account, then they could send an LOR in for $9,000. But if they have $7,000, then they could send in an LOR for $3,000. So it's not not everybody's going to get an additional 10,000. They're going to get up to 10,000.
Right.
So,
This is
go ahead.
I'm sorry, Brian. This is Brittany. I just kind of want to reiterate like how Brian said. So that's been our trouble, and I think this is great work, Jennifer, as to streamline the process, because often, you know, by the time it rolls out to the cooperators, it's either past the seeding date, or the drought's over, and when the paperwork comes out, you know, we don't have very good response or interest because it's not on their radar anymore. So I think anything to streamline it, to get it out there, you know, when we're in that crisis mode is great.
Hey, this is John Borden. Just a couple of comments real quick. Jennifer, if there's an opportunity early in the spring that you could provide some type of training and I could require all my field staff on the enhancement program, that way we are more consistent in all 14 districts and providing that information to the landowners that we visit. I think that would be very beneficial to my folks, because I know some of them are doing a good job and others may not. So if we could, that would be very helpful for my staff. And commission, a suggestion is whoever is your point of contact at the State Tech Committee meeting on the 21st, if they could make a request of, or make a suggestion to utilize some of our EQIP funds or for tree of heaven control in those targeted counties, I think that would go a long ways to us being able to push some of that funding, prioritize those counties where we wanted to attack the spotted lantern fly.
Great suggestions, John. Both of them. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. We'll go ahead and make sure that that happens. Jen, are we going to, as you go write the, I guess we're looking for a motion to go ahead with the planning process of this. And is this going to be brought up at the association meeting next week?
Yes. I'll be participating in the Natural Resources Committee, and so we'll discuss it there. And then as part of that report, I'm sure that Clyde as chairman will take it to the full group.
Okay, and then you anticipate bringing back a plan in January for the January committee meeting? Is that so you can roll it out in the spring?
It'll be the April state committee meeting, so it'll take effect at the start of the next fiscal year. But we'll be working between now and that time to further develop these practices and the program criteria.
Okay. And then I will just ask this before we go on, that if you would be able to update on the progress in January.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that won't be a problem at all.
That'd be great. Okay, super. So if you have any roadblocks and stuff, or people are, you see any legal stumblings or anything else in doing this, we want to know about that early before you finalize everything. So, but anyway, I think it's a great concept myself, but I will take a motion.
This is Timothy. I move we proceed.
A second.
This is Wayne, second.
All right. Any further discussion on this? Comments, concerns? Therefore, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you very much.
One quick note, Paul Lewis is on the line now.
Okay.
So if you want to record that.
Very good. All right. You got one more item there, Timothy?
Yes, sir, Commissioner, I do. And this is more just our business as usual that the Programs Committee takes care of. It's just our agreements, memos, and grant presentations. You'll notice the first couple, well, at least the first one, the NPS implementation. And then we also have, looking on down through here, some green infrastructure and certification and training. In our programs committee meeting, Jennifer kind of explained to the group, this is some of the main funding we get just for trainings, BMP practices, such things. So those are what those deal with. We get on down through here, just a lot of, for lack of better words, business as usual with agreements between different counties and municipalities with the OM&R work that we do. A few different things, but kind of falling on that, and also the 713U information. We have agreements there with the counties. So if there's any questions on any particular one of those, we'll be happy to field those. But was discussed by the committee, and they actually did make a recommendation that we send this to the committee for full approval. So that is my motion. If there aren't any questions, Mr. Commissioner.
Thank you, Timothy. Do we have a second on this?
This is Wayne, second.
All right. Has everybody had a chance to review it in their packet? Do we need a few moments? Anybody have any comments or concerns or questions?
I would just like to draw the committee's attention to the Warm Springs Run 7 pool drawdown agreement with the Morgan County Commission in the Eastern County Commission in the Eastern Panhandle. This is an emergency agreement that was executed after routine inspection of the dam revealed that a seep that had been running for decades was now starting to carry sand fines through the water. And this was right underneath the principal spillway pipe. And so on further investigation, we realized once it started carrying the fines, action had to be taken. So we did an emergency drawdown. And as part of our investigation from the drawdown of the pool, we found that the pipe that connected into the pool to the riser for decades had been dislocated. And so it was allowing water to bypass the pipe and then channel underneath the pipe. And so we are in the process now of we went and we fixed that, but it's only a temporary fix, and we're in the process of doing we will have to go out and have an engineer design a fix and then go in and fix it. And this will be because the dam is already out of the evaluated life, as a matter of fact, it's one of the oldest dams of its nature in the country because it was part of a pilot project. Built back in the 50s. It has exceeded its evaluated life, so this will be 100% paid funded project that we will undertake. So we will be we'll keep you up to date as to the progress on this, but I wanted to let you know that that is an issue that is going on, and we also have another dam that we're working on down in Mercer County where the concrete on the riser is such that it just gave way and left a hole about this big in the riser. And so the water was just shooting into the riser rather than following its normal. So we are in the process right now of fixing that riser and second riser in the Mercer County area. So we will be getting into these kind of repair projects more and more as we get into this. And that's another reason why that second engineer will be of benefit to us because of the work that we'll do, because a lot of these projects are going to be state funded.
Right. And it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when.
Correct.
So for the state committee's education, how many of our dams are now beyond their?
At the end of next year, we have 170 dams. At the end of next year, 107 will be beyond their evaluated life.
So that's a serious concern. So, and I'm going to ask, Brian, if you would, to make sure that we document each stage of each phase of these two that we're already working on. I mean, I'm talking about in detail with pictures, timeline, because this is going to become very important to show the
Governor and
the legislature, you know, the seriousness of what we're dealing with and,
right,
you know, how we're going to have to do this. So we're going to need some real solid documentation on everything.
Then, Commissioner, if I could add one small thing there, that was another reason. I was part of that conference call with the personnel committee discussing the new engineer, and that was another issue that came up when those discussions were happening, that with the dams all reaching their useful life and becoming more of our problem, we thought a second engineer would be very integral in helping with the documentation to work on those as well as we move forward there too.
Very good. Very good. So I guess we are looking for a vote. So I'm gonna accept this report as the motion was given. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Come on with enthusiasm. All righty. Anybody opposed? All right. Thank you for all the hard work, Timothy, and your committee. There was a lot, and Jennifer, it's all a lot going on there.
Yes, sir.
All very important.
Does complete our discussion for today.
Thank you very much. Brian, you're up.
Under continuing business, item 4 on your agenda, these are just discussion points, no action taken at this time. I will tell you, though, that the updating of West Virginia Code, Chapter 1921A, I will bring that back to the state committee after the districts and the association have thoroughly vetted it and reviewed it and approved it, so the state committee action. Okay, so that I would anticipate, if we're trying to do that for the January session, that it will be the agenda on the January State Committee meeting. And I will ask Wayne to participate in this, that we have been meeting pretty much all of 21, discussing potential changes to the law. And those changes where we are right now is version 9, and a copy of version 9 was sent to you all this morning for your review. Proposed changes in the law are in yellow. I have a copy for you here, Commissioner. And so they are in yellow, and very briefly, the highlight of the changes are rewriting the legislative determination and declaration of policy, essentially to remove language that was inserted, that was written in the 1930s, that was sent to all of the states in 1930s. Just updating the language to reflect a little more modern times, and then eliminating that. The main change that has received a lot of the discussion has been to modify 1921A6, which is the election of supervisors. And what that would do would be to eliminate the farmer or retired farmer tag. The reason for that move, a couple of them, but the discussion started is that you needed to have a bigger tent. And if you limit it to farmers or retired farmers, you have a potential shrinking base of activity, and the fact that in the 1930s, conservation was about agriculture, but in the 21st century, agriculture plays a role in conservation, but agriculture is not all of conservation, and so there was an attempt to try and expand it. Plus the fact that this year, the legislature amended the Chapter 19, the commissioner's qualifications, to remove the actual farmer requirement for it. So now the commissioner of agriculture no longer needs to be a farmer. That follows a ruling that was issued by a Kanawha County Circuit Judge that said that back prior to the Helmick administration, that said that Walt Helmick could run as a agriculture commissioner because the language that dealt with being an actual farmer was unconstitutional because the legislature did not have that authority to set that requirement. So if anything, we are more or less bringing conservation district supervisors in line with what the legislature has taken action on. Another change on that would be any vacancy that occurs in the supervisor. The state committee would still be involved, but current law says that districts must supply a name to the state committee within 15 days, and we never hit that mark. Primarily because districts really aren't set up because of the monthly meetings of districts and then the quarterly meetings of the state committee. We're not set up on a 15-day schedule. So we've modified that to change that law to recommend the change to 90 days. So a district then could advertise for a replacement. They could make a recommendation and then submit it to the state committee. So an approval could be made more timely than we have now. Some of the other changes are some accountability provisions in the law that require the state committee to ask districts for certain pieces of information. This was something that several supervisors said was very important as districts want more autonomy. Accountability comes with autonomy. And so there needed to be some provisions in the law that actually require accountability. And so some of that would be annual reports, accounting and auditing procedures, the requirement for strategic plans and issues like that. The other issue that we have is that we make it very clear that districts are allowed to receive donations and contributions to address an issue where districts have felt that they could not work with non-government organizations. This makes it clear that districts can work with non-government organizations, that they don't, that they're not limited in who their partners are or who they see their partners are. And I will tell you, that is part of a discussion that is occurring nationwide. When I was at my NASCA meeting, which is National Association of State Conservation Agencies meeting last week, our annual meeting, the chief of NRCS came to visit us. And one of the questions the chief was asked was about the core partnership. And historically, the core partnership has been defined as NRCS and the districts, and maybe FSA and maybe extension. Now the, and NACD. And so the core partnership now, there's discussion that the term core needs to be removed because we are dealing with diverse organizations now. There are a lot of industry-led organizations that are coming to NRCS seeking grant funds. Funding from the Farm Bill in order to put conservation on the ground. They are making it a part of their corporate strategy to say that they buy from conservation-related farmers, producers. So, for example, the chief said that he now receives phone calls from companies like Kroger and Walmart, who want to take advantage of Farm Bill funding in order to provide the kind of food that their clientele are looking for in terms of conservation-related stewardship, land stewardship. People are now concerned where their food is coming from. And so the chief's message was that he will work with any partner that is able to put conservation on the ground. And he is not going to discriminate. My words, not his. So this makes it clear that conservation districts can work and find those partners that are out there trying to put conservation on the ground and currently are bypassing conservation districts, but they can, conservation districts can then say, hey, wait, work with us because, we are known in the community. We do have community relations and we are locally led. So that's one of the reasons why you're seeing some of that language in this bill and in the context in which the national discussion is occurring. So those are the highlights of the proposed legislation. Excuse me. The way this has been working is the association has a 14-member legislative committee made up of representatives from each district. And then there was a subcommittee of that committee that has been working, and I've been working with them. And then periodically we take the drafts and present it back to the full committee and then ask the full committee to take it to their district boards and discuss it. So there has been discussion about this. So
That's great. That's great. You see the engagement with the legislative committee and the districts themselves. I mean, the whole goal is to strengthen the whole program at the local level and make this, make it robust. And I'm glad to see the National Association getting engaged in this type of activity as well. Agriculture and conservation is changing throughout this country. And I think West Virginia can lead. We can be a showplace for all this if we all work together and put forth our best efforts. We've got a beautiful state, and we're working to keep it that way. And I think we can shine pretty much. So that's great. Good efforts. Thank you all.
And also one other note, I'd be remiss if I did not say Jennifer Greenleaf has also been involved in this process too.
Okay.
And she has provided input in there.
Very good.
For the next item for the FY23 budget, the governor's office did say that we were to submit a static budget, which we did, $11,023,000. But we are asking for a $2 million improvement package to address stream and agricultural mitigation issues. The discussion on that is that I've had discussions with the commissioner for the last year and a half. We've tried to get things moving in terms of that, and I just finally decided that let's put their money where their mouth is and ask them for $2 million for it. And that's on top of the $100 million that I've already sent them saying we needed from the infrastructure fund for the dams.
Yep.
So there is that. Our budget presentation to the state budget office is on October the 20th at 3:00 in the afternoon. So it was supposed to be earlier, but I was at my NASCA meeting, so they graciously agreed to make it change.
Right. Very good. Does anybody have any questions? I can't wait till we all get back in person so I can see nods. I can't see nods in this environment. Anyway, very good. New business.
Under new business, sir, the continuation of the previous discussion dealing with dams, I wanted to bring to the attention that the Department of Environmental Protection, which has the dam regulatory program in the state of West Virginia, has sent a notice to sponsors of 12 of the watershed dams saying that they will not be issued certificates of approval. And the reason for that is that due to hazard classification changes, when they were built as significant hazard dams. They're now high hazard dams because of development that has occurred downstream. And due to that, the dams no longer meet dam safety requirements for high hazard classification. We have looked at this, and several of those dams are also beyond their evaluated life. Actually, I think all of them are. and also make our top 25 list of dams that need to be upgraded. And so we are working with that. The DEP said that they are requiring the districts and the county commissions and cities who are sponsors of these structures to provide a response, I believe, within 120 days in how they intend to repair these structures to bring them into compliance. And so we are working locally on that. Again, this is another one of those structures where we will, another one of those issues where we will have to come to terms in the state of West Virginia about how we're going to deal with these dams. We do have operation and maintenance agreements with the local sponsors. The annual operation and maintenance costs are close to $1 million, yet we only receive about 17% of that from our local sponsors, and county and conservation districts provide zero funding based on prior arrangements made back in 2000. So all of this cost is shifting to the state. And so we're going to have to really sit down and look at how what is the state policy going to be going forward into the 21st century. And again, I will tell you that this is not just a West Virginia debate. This is something that's going on in Oklahoma and Texas, and in places like Texas, where their legislature has provided $100 million to fund a state repair program. It really isn't as much of an issue, but they also have 2,500 dams in the state of West Virginia, where we are very fortunate to have received additional money each year to start addressing this. We, at some point, budget concerns are going to replace public safety, and we just need to make sure that public safety is never lost in the discussion when it comes to budget. So you will be hearing more of this because of the state committee. The state committee is directly responsible for 21 of these structures of the 170. And so we have a liability that extends to us. And so we need to make sure that at least our dams are in great shape, so we can't say, here's the problem, but you're not maintaining your own stuff. So
again, a great reason for the documentation of the two that we are having issues with, because we are going to have to educate the legislators on the seriousness of the problem and how it starts as a small little seep and grows. And we're going to need to document that timeline too, Brian.
And I am in the process right now of arranging meetings with Senator Swoop and the delegates down in Mercer County to look at those two repair projects. And if you would like to accompany us, I will make sure.
Yeah, let me know if I can make it. I will gladly.
And also the Warm Springs. In Warm Springs, we have the Senate Judiciary Chairman, the Senate President, and House Finance Chairman all in that area too. And so I'd like to bring them over and show them what we're doing.
Yeah, I'd like to be present for that. Yep.
So.
Okay.
And then NRCS, I'll let John go into this a little bit more, but again, there's a discussion that's going on with NRCS dealing with evaluated life. You know, most of the dams evaluated life, the older dams evaluated life was 50 years, and in the newer dams, it's 100 years. Essentially what evaluated life is, it's an economic calculation that after a structure has reached 50 years in age, the taxpayers receive the benefit from it, and therefore the federal government's obligation to that structure is no longer. And we have, and as you can see, 107 of the 170 dams will reach their evaluated life next year, which means that we currently have a lot of dams where the federal government's involvement is really no more. And so that again shifts the discussion of we need to make sure that we put in a program and work with the administration and get them to understand that, you know, it's important to talk about broadband. It's important to talk about highways. It's important to talk about bridges. But when you have over 60% of this state that is protected by one of these dams and it provides in excess of $90 million a year in flood protection, it's important that that gets on their radar as well. And so they need to actually come up with a program, and we need to be there in the forefront, as you say, with the legislature. And I don't really care how it starts, executive or legislative, but something's going to have to.
Well, it has, we need to be attacking it from both directions.
Correct.
And we have to harken back to a wonder, did we not make an obligation that's sort of unconstitutional? As you know, the governments aren't supposed to make obligations beyond so many years.
Right.
Here we obligated ourselves to something 50 years on down the road that we didn't prepare for. And
believe, we are drafting, or we have drafted a white paper, and we are the National Watershed Coalition, in which, Commissioner, your point is there that the federal government, because of this programs that were created an obligation.
Right.
And it cannot just walk away from it. And so it also needs to modify its obligation based on today's standard, that the pool cannot be just for the rehabilitation of these structures like you saw in Upper Deckers 1 and New Creek 14. The states need assistance for the repair of these projects, like expanding spillways, in order for these things to continue to operate. And so this whole funding mechanism needs to be put on its head. And that was one of the things I talked about with Senator Capito the other day.
Okay.
When we met.
And we can talk offline how that all went. We need to work on that. Okay. John, did you have anything you wanted to add on the dams?
I can share that real briefly during my update, Commissioner.
Okay. All right, let's go to informational update on the other things.
Sure, we're still on our COVID policy. We're still teleworking until we get past the variant. Hopefully, well, the nice thing is that supposedly the number of cases is on the downward trend in West Virginia, so that's a good sign. In your packet, we do have your letters of CD letter of requests, which just show how much money that we have allocated out to the conservation districts so far. And as of between July 1, beginning of the fiscal year, and September 24th, we have allocated more than $2 million, $2,035,312.23 to the districts. And that covers a variety of things, from district support to ag enhancement, to CBay funding and operation and maintenance and other costs. And then we also have the personnel updates. And as you can see, we've had 2 resignations. Our technicians are leaving, finding other job opportunities. So we wish them well. And also we have retirement and a administrative specialist, a long-serving administrative specialist, 30 years. And then we have some new employees that have come on as well, watershed technicians. We have a new watershed manager for the East, Don Wetzel. And Don is replacing a person who, as I said, in the, I believe at the July meeting only lasted about a month. So, and that's it for the personnel updates, sir. And
okay. Well, I guess we can move on to conservation partnerships. So you're up, John. You're first.
All right. All right, real quickly, NRCS report, and Belinda, you have a copy of this. So you don't have to take minutes. So we have awarded fiscal year contract programs. 654 individuals received some type of contract, whether through EQIP, CSP, AMA, and that resulted in $14,278,000 in fiscal year 2021, a slight increase from last year. COVID operations status. Currently, all West Virginia FPAC offices are limited to 25% capacity, no in-building visits, and only mission-critical office travel. Currently, we are the only state that has the entire state with this limitation. So we're hopeful that in the next few weeks, we'll be able to get back to 50% in most of our counties. All 13 of my direct hires have been onboarded in the field offices, and this includes 2 area foresters that we brought on. Our goal is to have 4 foresters, whether it's our staff or partners throughout the state, to provide that assistance to our landowners in the state of West Virginia. The West Virginia Conservation Planning Certification Objective, we want to be the first state in our agency to have all of our field employees as level 3 certified planners. This is a change in our planning certification that the agency started a couple years ago. We have 71 field employees that will need to be certified and 24 partner employees. And our goal is to do that by the end of 2022. So we are going to put a focus on training on these employees so we can have the best planners in the nation. The first goal is to have our 31 legacy planners to be certified by December 31st, 2021. And again, they are people that are currently have old planning certifications. We are requiring them to submit a plan. They were to submit one by October 6th so we could review it and give them their certification to allow both of our staff to get training on how to review plans, but also to state the purpose or the importance of, just because if you haven't written a plan for 10 years, you need to write one before we're just going to check the box and certify you. The State Technical Committee will be held October 21st. Again, this will be by teams. We have had the Agricultural and Forestry Subcommittee listening sessions. I thought they went very well. The Wildlife Subcommittee listening session will be held October 20th, and then we'll have a Community Outreach / Watershed Planning Subcommittee meeting in November. And again, this is to revitalize, re-energize the State Tech Committee to have a better, not just a representation, but that they bring actual feedback, concerns, and ways that we can best spend our federal dollars here in West Virginia. The West Virginia NRCS Watershed Planner statewide position has been advertised. We have made a selection for the position, and we'll announce that as soon as the HR clearance has been completed. So we will have a statewide POC to have their main responsibility to manage the watersheds, the dams, a lot of the information that Brian's been talking about, that we'll have somebody that their job will be to stay connected with all this so we can navigate West Virginia in the best way possible. The West Virginia Conservation Partners Specialist position, has been made. Julie Stutler, who's been the DC in Cross Lanes, she began her new role today, October 12th. So she is on my staff as my partnership specialist, meaning she will assist our partners as a point of contact to make certain that we are developing this partnership, not just with the state agency, Department of Agriculture, Conservation District Association, that they will all have an individual to make certain that we are working together to support our shared customers, which are the landowners in the field. I'm excited about that. I think Julie will fill that position very well. Nicole Byers has been selected to a position at the national office. Damaris Mortensen, who has been our state resource conservationist, has accepted a directory assignment to her position. So we'll be advertising an SRC, the State Resource Conservation position, which I believe is probably the most important position in the state. That'll be advertised nationally in January. I am sure there will be significant interest. And again, that will be a key position, not only to support our field and the conservation planning, the best technical assistance, but working with those partners moving forward. And as Brian spoke, Commissioner, there is a lot going on with the National Watershed and Flood Prevention Operations Implementation Plan, I'll call it. Brian has been graciously willing to visit with my staff and my leadership to give the state background We have requested and had national meetings along with individuals from Oklahoma, where we have just again stated that we have to continue our support beyond the extended life of these dams. And we also need to take a look at that dam rehabilitation it's just not cost effective in all ways, that hopefully that some type of dam repair. And we're hoping that we'll get an opportunity maybe for a pilot program here in the state of West Virginia. But again, we are, I think we're taking a leadership role as we navigate with the national office of what the future of watershed programs is going to be. And again, by having that point of contact, I believe we'll have an opportunity to not be followers, but leaders, which is significantly important here in West Virginia. That's my report. Any questions?
Hey, John, are you going to include our staff into your certification comp?
Absolutely.
Will our staff be part of that?
Absolutely. I have 24 of your staff that we are tracking to make certain they are also have the opportunity to become level 3 certified planners by the end of next year. Or if they want to take the lead with that, they can become the first and show my employees that it's possible to do in a shorter period of time.
Okay, great. I'm sure that we have some excellent candidates for you. All right, Jennifer?
Great, yep. I want to, oh, you're talking about Jennifer? Yeah, God, yeah.
Jennifer's great.
You done? You good?
Yes, I'm done.
We're good. Okay, sorry about that. John, thank you for the report. Thanks for all the outreach you're doing. And on that dam rehabilitation pilot, let me know what I can do to help you in Washington or anywhere to get that pushed forward. I'd be more than happy to sit down, talk with you later on it, and see what we can do together to get it moving.
Thank you, Commissioner.
All right, I guess now the next Jennifer, extension.
Good morning. I will be as brief as I can. We have currently our COVID protocols are all of our offices in the counties are open. At the state level, we have most of our employees are working a hybrid schedule. So some in the office, some days in the office and some days working remotely. But we are all working hard. So we also have one ag position that is vacant, and that is the Small Farm Center Program Director. We are revising that position just a bit and hoping to get that search process started before the first of the year. We have several projects and programs going on. We have 3 faculty members who have received Northeast SARE projects, and those are partnership grants that are actually working with producers to implement innovative solutions to challenges in production marketing or community well-being and food systems. And those are, is copper deficiency killing our sheep, micronutrient availability and their effects on sheep health and production. And that's being done in the Eastern Panhandle, as well as production and value-added processing of cultivated and wild harvested elderberries in West Virginia. So those are some of our grants that we are working with producers on. Our 2021 Women in Ag Conference that was scheduled for next weekend has been rescheduled to a virtual event, which will be held November 8th through the 10th. We will have 3 evenings of programming. One will be actual highlights of virtual farm tours of several farming operations in West Virginia, as well as a keynote speaker by Charlotte Smith, who owns 3 Cal Marketing out of the Northwest. She will be our keynote speaker, and that will be on Monday night. Tuesday night and Wednesday night will be session tracks on finance and marketing, livestock and forages, and horticulture. Our soil testing, the WVU soil testing program, the joint effort between the Davis College and Extension has expanded their services. The new recommendation system has been adopted, and it provides landowners managing forages and field crops more information to assist them in managing their soil amendment needs. The list of crop codes and subsequent recommendations have been expanded to include a host of vegetable crops, hemp, and wildlife food plots, as well as producers can now have their samples analyzed for organic matter, micronutrients, and electrical conductivity. Those 3 tests are not part of the free samples and have to be scheduled or purchased separately. The WVU Extension grazing schools, we've held 2 grazing schools, one at in August in Wardensville at Raymond Memorial Farm. That was held jointly with Eastern Community College. The second one was held in Monroe County with Willa Bend. The third is scheduled for later this month in Upshur County, and those schools are being managed by Kevin Schaefer, Ed Rayburn, and Ben Goff. The topics are increasing profitability, determining forage demand and supply, budgeting your forages, developing a grazing plan, understanding the cost of hay production, and learning how to plan and lay out grazing paddocks. In a effort, excuse me, with NRCS as a cooperative agreement, we are scheduling some high tunnel workshops, 6 workshops per year in coordination with some of the conservation districts around the state. 3 will be delivered in the northern part of the state with the Mon Soil Conservation District. In the 3 in the south will be repeated in the south in cooperation with the Guyan Soil Conservation District. And as a part of this, they will establish 6 demonstration high tunnels. Those project managers are Tom Baisden, Carlos Posada, and Louis Jett. In another joint effort with USDA NRCS, we are working to provide a data set to measure crop yields under high level of management on benchmark soil series across West Virginia to improve the nutrient management planning process. This work is funded by a joint effort agreement with NRCS, and there will be a selection of 40 agricultural fields that have a range of benchmark soil series and are being managed as croplands. So that project is being managed by Tom Baisden and Ben Goff. And then working with FSA, we've secured funding from FSA to help female farmers understand programs of Farm Service Agency and how they relate to the USDA's pandemic response and safety grant opportunities. The funding will also provide much needed training in the areas of small ruminant grazing, small scale poultry production, and growing specialty crops. That project is being managed by Lisa Jones. And then I know that I've had several questions over the last couple weeks on the extension dinner meeting that we hold each January, February, and March. Those meetings will be kind of a hybrid schedule. We will have a mix of in-person and virtual sessions. January and March sessions will be in person at many of the traditional sites that we have held around the state. And then on Thursday nights in February, the meetings will be offered in a virtual format. We haven't exactly nailed down all of our speakers, so that schedule is not out yet, but the topics range from high tunnel management to soil testing to farm ownership transition planning, predator control, carbon sequestration, alternate income sources. We really think there's something for everyone. So that's my report for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Quick question. Any word on Winter Blues and the Small Farms Conference?
That looks like, well, Yes, the final determination has not been made, but it looks like leaning toward a virtual conference, leaning toward a virtual small farm conference.
Okay. And the winter blues market?
Well, that would be part of the small farm conference, but that would be could not
Right.
be held virtually, but
They can't hold that virtually, so,
No.
okay, so that, there wouldn't be one then, I guess.
That's right. But that decision has not been finalized yet, but I will have someone get in touch with you or Norm.
That'd be great. Thank you very much. All righty. Farm Service Agency.
Thank
Doug,
you,
you still?
Commissioner.
Okay.
I'm here. Thank you, Commissioner, and good morning to everyone. Real quick update there. John covered our COVID staffing, where we're at with that, so I won't reiterate that. As far as appointments of state committee and SEDs, there have only been 10 state committee persons and 5 SEDs appointed nationally so far. They keep saying that's a work in progress. The American Recovery Plan Act that was passed by Congress provided funding for farm loan program and farm storage facility loan program debt forgiveness for socially disadvantaged farmers. There's been a temporary injunction associated with that particular piece of legislation, and so that's preventing payments being made on that. I think I covered that the last meeting. Really no change in that. The injunction continues. The sign up for our PATH program, and the PATH program is the Pandemic Assistance for Timber Harvesters and Haulers. That's scheduled to conclude this week on the 15th. This is a new program for us, designed to deliver pandemic relief to timber harvesters and haulers who have suffered at least a 10% reduction in revenue from 2020 as compared to the same period in 2019, January 1 through December 1 of those years. There is a small initial payment of $2,000 that's made to eligible applicants upon application and determination of eligibility, and then the final payments will not be made until sign up is completed and an evaluation is done of how much demand there is for that money, because there is a ceiling on that money that was allotted. So it could be factored down a bit. Interest rates remain really low for our loan type programs. Real estate's 2.875, operating 1 3/4, and farm storage facility loan 1.25%. So interest rates remain good for the loan programs. In regard to conservation sort of activity, our CRP CREP programs, the re-enrollment activities just concluded for our CREP program. I do not have re-enrollment numbers available to me at this time, but we did have a net loss of CREP acres. I don't think there's any doubt about that. We did have, I know I talked at this meeting and others before about getting our CRP program revitalized. Some issues we were having with getting some clearance from our national leaders. We have had some turnover nationally, just very recent turnover nationally in our CREP program manager, our CRP program manager, and so we're anticipating working with some new folks on that to get things moving along in our CRP and CREP program here in the state. So we did have recently concluded a sign up into our CRP grassland program, and we did have 634 acres accepted into that program nationally in West Virginia. So we're pleased with that. So unless there are any questions, that is what I have for today. I appreciate the time.
Great. Thank you, Doug. DEP.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Belinda, I will send you some notes so you can write them on. In the non-point source program, EPA has issued a memo to us about diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice. That's DEIJ, and they will be holding training for us on October 13th. So they have suggested some near-term steps that we can take to increase our inclusion and diversity. One suggestion that they do have is for the state to cover the match requirement for low-income communities or individuals or minorities to enable them to apply for funding. And I think in some instances we probably will need to just start documenting when we work with low-income and minority individuals or communities. With Chesapeake Bay program, they are scheduling milestone evaluation meetings, and we'll be scheduling one with West Virginia. December 31 of 2021 marks the end of the 2-year milestone cycle. So we will be looking at our progress and also begin developing new milestones for 2022 and 23. As far as non-point goes in general, we have several projects underway with local governments to develop green infrastructure plans and full designs. And our hope is that if and when infrastructure funding becomes available, in addition to what's already been made available through ARPA, that communities might be ready and have some opportunities to install some great infrastructure. And so in addition to managing, I think, rainfall through flood control structures, we need to infiltrate stormwater where it lands on the ground to minimize that runoff. And so we're hoping to do some of that. We are also working with the Development Office on a stream restoration project, fund a project through their Community Development Block Grant program for flood mitigation. They got a significant amount of funding for the counties that were affected by the 2016 flood, and we had a project ready to go for that, and hopefully that will be funded. I'm going to give you a quick update on our in lieu fee program, just for FYI. We've constructed 8 projects to date, totaling nearly $9 million, and all but 2 of those have been on public land or land that's been purchased and donated to DNR once the project is complete. We're currently working on 9 projects, including construction of a large project at Canal State Forest, where we are removing the dam and the pond and restoring the stream channel and floodplain there. That is under construction right now. DEP in general, the Division of Personnel has increased the starting salaries for the environmental resources job classification. Some other agencies were having difficulty with retention, so they proposed salary increases for that job class, and all internal staff salaries will be adjusted accordingly up to 7% until they hit the cap. If they hit the cap, they get less than 7%. This is the 3rd time the date has changed, but we in theory, we'll have staff back in the office full-time November 1. Supervisors and managers have been in the office since June. But they're talking about all staff returning by November 1. We do have a telework policy in place, but it's not going to be effective until everyone has returned and we've reestablished some office time with everyone. So that is all for my report, unless anyone has any questions.
Questions? Thank you, Teresa. Forestry.
Yes. Pardon me if I've got a little bit of a cough. I went and got the booster shot yesterday, and I woke up a little bit of a head cold this morning. But we are started fall fire season, and as of Friday, we've had 27 fires for about 125 acres. We are still trying to fill a number of vacancies. Seems like NRCS keeps taking some of our guys, it looks like, with their positions that they've got. We send out 3 firefighting modules out to Minnesota, along with a single resource in air operations. They've been out there pretty much about 2 months through the summer. And we're starting to work with on a project with the Cultural Center to supply the materials to build an Adena structure up in Moundsville. We'll be building or be cutting saplings to build a fence for the area. And then come spring, we'll be trying to gather the bark for the roof and the sides of that building. So kind of hopefully Cultural Center maybe have that thing up and running sometime next summer. We've started looking at the statewide flood protection plan that is through the State Resiliency Office. We've got through December to make comments on it. American Chestnut Foundation, they came and collected seed last week there at Clements. And finally, Director Cover and Deputy Director Payne, they attended last night's WVFA legislative reception, and they was given assurances of support from both legislators and the industry people that was there. And that's pretty much for the Division of Forestry.
All right. Thank you very much. Davis College.
Thank you, Commissioner. This is Paul Lewis, and because of positive COVID, I've been out of circulation for 3 weeks, and I haven't had a chance to visit with the Dean, Darrell. So I'm going to forego any report for right now. Thank you.
All right. Well, glad you're on the way to recovery.
I am too.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Okay. Wayne for the Conservation Association.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good morning, everyone. As the Commissioner said there just a little bit, conservation is changing. And so our association and conservation districts, we've been trying to change to meet this challenge in the last 3 years or so. So, and as you heard, we've been working with the Conservation Code. Brian gave a very well review of that. I think we have a couple sticking points, but I hope that everything passes well in our future meeting. To keep up with the changing demand, we did hire an executive director, Heather Duncan, who has added a great deal to our association. Her background was an educational specialist for the Eastern Panhandle Conservation District. And I think Heather's been quite busy for the last month and a half or so. So we appreciate her and having her aboard. Our association will be having a quarterly meeting on October 18 and 19, and this will be virtually. The business meeting will be Tuesday morning, starting at 9 a.m., and the awards meeting will start at 2 p.m. With the conservation farmer presentation at the I think everyone should have been emailed this information. If not, let me know and I'll get the info to you. At our next meeting in January, if COVID is all cleared up, we'll be having training for supervisors and conservation program planning. We're going to this October, but COVID happened, and so it tended to disappear for the meeting. And talking about speaking about training, Bob Buchanan has been working on 5 training modules for supervisors that will be sent to them very soon. So we thank him for doing that, and as we continue to train our supervisors. We've had 3 area meetings. This is something well new, but old. We used to have area meetings several years ago, so we started those back, and as an idea to bring across new ideas and innovations for districts. So far, they've been very well attended, and the information has been shared between districts very well. So I think these meetings, hope they continue to do this, but they've gone very well. So I think Heather's been working on one of the things she sent out to supervisors was a questionnaire on how to better our association can serve conservation districts. And with their response, I helped turn to determine the direction we want to go. And so I hope all the supervisors do this, and just be interesting to see how that turns out. And with this, I mean, with this sort of thing, I mean, this committee assists and advises conservation districts and others on implementing conservation improvements. So what I would like to know is, what advice would you give districts for doing that for improvement? I mean, you don't have to answer now. If you have any suggestions, please email me or call me. So appreciate that. Appreciate that help. I guess we have programs. We have traditional programs. We have new programs that we're trying to get established. New things trying to get established. And you know, our districts have done some great things for the state, conservation wise, and I just want to focus on one, and not, and for all producers, we've done I think a lot. But one of the things is that just to remember, our grasslands are some of the best producing and some of the best livestock in the nation, but we want to continue the best for our conservation districts. And just a reminder, we are the grassroots and conservation measures, and we are committed and providing the taxpayers and for the most of the money. So, these are some of the things we're doing, and some of the things we continue to do and continue to work on. So we hope to bring everything up to date, and hope we're secure in our future needs. Thank you, Commissioner.
Well, thank you, Wayne. Appreciate that report. Anybody have any questions? All right, RC&D. Is Joe with us?
He didn't answer.
Okay. All righty. So we'll go to appointed members. Eli, you're up first.
Mr. Commissioner, committee, I have nothing, as usual.
All right. Glad you're with us. Angie, you're next.
Well, thank you, Commissioner. Hi, everybody. It sounds like I'm not alone in being pretty busy with staff turnover and hiring this whole past year. So a lot of staffing changes happening at West Virginia Rivers Coalition. And the other thing keeping us busy, I'd say, is I guess the significance of West Virginia in the national debate around the federal infrastructure and investment packages. And we're advocating for strong conservation, restoration, and resiliency in those packages. I've been encouraged to see the bipartisan support so far for the drinking water and wastewater infrastructure investments. I think that could stand to make a big difference here in West Virginia, as well as transformational investments in reclamation, both for abandoned mine lands and unplugged oil and gas wells. So if those things go through, I think we'll see strong growth in those efforts here, and making a difference for water quality and conservation as well. And I guess I just, as an appointed member, want to give a shout out to the districts and the staff and Davin for pulling off a virtual farm tour this year. It's always one of my favorite parts of serving on this committee. And sorry we couldn't be on the farms, but the videos certainly helped us feel like I was there, and just always uplifting and inspiring to see the good work happening on farms in West Virginia. So good job, staff.
Thank you, Angie. Anybody got any questions for Angie? I hope the infrastructure stuff for the water quality goes through. Tim?
I believe y'all have heard me speak enough, and I have nothing more to add at this time, but thank you.
Okay. Brittany, you still with us?
I'm still here, and I don't have any additional things to report today.
All right, thank you very much. Real quick from the Department of Ag, we're still, we're fully operational with with the COVID plans. We are still keeping logs of entry in and out of the buildings, and so we're moving apace. As always, laboratories are my #1 priority, getting them upgraded for the Department of Agriculture. We're fighting to secure funding. These labs not only protect the citizens of West Virginia, but they also create jobs, believe it or not. You know, without the laboratories, there would not be the United Dairy downtown and all those jobs. Without the laboratories, there wouldn't be the hemp industry in West Virginia. I could go on and on to include meat processing and the like. So every chance we can get, we're pushing a lot. I would invite any member of this committee that wants a tour of the labs. You're welcome to come tour them. We've got an animal health lab, we got regulatory labs, plant industry labs. Got the largest insect collection in the state, and they can help you identify any bugs you might find. Just email bugbusters@wvda.us your pictures of an unknown bug, and Barry will identify it for you. So we have those assets. So anybody in the committee that would like to get a tour of the labs, please let us know. SASDA planning, the Southern Association of State Departments of Ag, as I reported last time, I was elected president. We're going to hold that meeting in person with all the Southern Ag commissioners and some other invitees in June, from the 5th to the 7th of June. I invite all members of the committee to participate. And if you know of anybody that wants to help sponsor the conference, that would certainly be most welcome. We are going to be highlighting up in the Canaan Valley area how well agriculture and conservation can work together and how conservation pays. So we want to make sure that we highlight that and how well West Virginia is doing to the other ag departments around the country. In September, that position as on SASDA, also I was officially put on the National Association of State Departments of Agriculture Board in September. So I'll be on that in that position for a year now, this upcoming year. On Cedar Lakes, got to thank Brian for your assistance on the dam project. Took a long time. We're finally in compliance with DEP. So thank you, Brian. Appreciate all the help on that. I invite you with Cedar Lakes to come out and check out our expanded assembly hall. If any agencies or anybody needs to lease an assembly hall in Jackson County and use Cedar Lakes, it's available. Almost doubled the size, basically, of the convention hall. We can now fit all our FFA students in the summer in one hall. We won't need tents to host them. So that's going to be great. Tomorrow, I get to address the Economic Outlook Forum for the first time. That Department of Agriculture has been considered an economic engine in the state of West Virginia. So I'm looking forward tomorrow morning to addressing that. So that's a brief update for the Department of Ag. If anybody has any questions for me, now's a good time. Good. I like an easy audience.
I can't find the mute button.
Yep. Yeah. Can't find the unmute button. Okay. Conservation Committee member report, delegation, public comments. Anybody? Any last words from anybody?
Hey, this is Heather Duncan. I just wanted to say hello. As Wayne mentioned, I am the new executive director for the Association of Conservation Districts.
Welcome, Heather.
Thank you.
Next time you're in Charleston, set up an appointment. I'd love to sit down and meet with you.
Look forward to it.
Sounds great.
And just one last thing for me, Commissioner, is First, I want to give a big shout out to Division of Forestry for the videos, the virtual farm tour videos. They could not have been as all-encompassing without the Division of Forestry agreeing to help us with their drones.
Very good.
And they, thank you very much, Tony, for all of that. In terms of the judging, the committee, the judges felt that they did not need to meet with the farmers. So based on the videos and the material given to them, so there will be no interviews. And there was a winner to the extent that it was a clear winner, so they would not, so there was not a need. So I cannot tell you who that winner is since this is a public forum. And you will all have to wait until the 19th to find out who that person is. But if you call me and if you're a judge, I'll be happy to tell you. So other than that, that's it for me, sir. Oh, one last thing. In December, between the last thing is that on December 14th, I will be heading to Brazil. And I will be going to visit my new grandson, who's been named Ziggy. So I will be there for the last 2 weeks of December. And so if anybody needs me, you can get in touch with me in Brazil because they have a pretty robust internet system down there and Wi-Fi. So
Well, congratulations on the grandson and safe travels.
Thank you.
Brenda, do you have something?
I will announce the 2022 meetings are scheduled for January 11th, April 12th, July 12th, and October the 11th.
Very good. Thank you. Everybody got that?
Brenda, give those dates again.
January 11th, April 12th, July 12th, October the 11th, 2022.
Thank you.
All righty. Well, with that, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. I know everybody said aye. So have a great day, everybody. Thank you for attending.
Thanks.
Thank you.
See you in January.